Do you like riddles?
No, I don't.
What's up, April here, and welcome back to The Struggle is Real, my YouTube channel where I do TV and movie reactions and reviews, all for your viewing pleasure. And also mine. Now, back in the golden days of cinema, way back in yesteryear, when people would go to the movie theaters all the time, there was no such thing as streaming and videos and even discs. There used to be such a thing called a double feature. People would go to the movies and you get two movies for the price of one. Sometimes those movies were related because they were in the same genre. Sometimes they even had the same actor or actress featured in them. But either way, you'd get to watch two movies for the price of one movie ticket, which is honestly something they should bring back because movies are really expensive. But that's a different story for a different day. With that being said, I've decided to start a new segment on my channel called The Double Feature, which, just like in the days of old, I will be giving you two movies for the price of one.
Usually you pay double for that kind of action, Cotton.
You're welcome. So with that being said, I've decided to kick this off with a Denzel Washington double feature because, you know, Denzel Washington isn't typically known for doing horror movies, but there does happen to be some in his repertoire, and those are the ones that I will be focusing on today, that being Fallen and The Bone Collector. Let's get started. First up on this Denzel double feature is the supernatural horror Fallen. Released in 1998, this movie stars, obviously, Denzel Washington playing a homicide detective named John Hobbs, who is responsible for the capture and later execution of a known serial killer. Now, unfortunately, when some murders start taking place that copy the style of the recently executed serial killer, and some rather unexplainable things start tying themselves to this new case, Detective Hobbs realizes that there might be something more nefarious at play. Now, this movie is really interesting in the fact that it is a supernatural thriller, but it's grounded in realism because it is at its core a detective-based horror movie. It starts out with him just, you know, doing the normal things of a cop. You're investigating, you're trying to figure out what's what, and the supernatural elements of this movie come in very, very smoothly and just expand as the movie goes about, and it makes it for a really amazing and interesting watch. The character that Denzel Washington plays in this movie, similar to some of the other characters that he's played over the course of his career, is a stand-up guy. He's a decorated cop. He takes care of his brother and nephew. He's not one to shy away from a case, and he has the respect of both his superiors and equals. However, as the movie goes along and he begins to find out more about this new series of murders, he starts to question everything that he knows as a cop and what could possibly exist in the world in general. Now, outside of an amazing switch up in tone from Denzel Washington, this movie also boasts an incredible ensemble cast that do more than pull their weight over the course of this film. With the likes of Donald Sutherland, John Goodman, the late James Gandolfini, Elias Koteas, Gabrielle Cassius, and Embeth Davidtz, who is most known for her role in the lighter family movie Matilda, everyone is doing their job in such an exquisite order that it will have you wondering and questioning exactly who can be trusted as the movie goes along. Now, this movie doesn't rely on gore or effects or anything of the sort to get its point across in it being a supernatural horror. It very much relies on tone and pacing and the abilities of its cast to carry along in the film. The movie, like any good horror in my opinion, is relatively quiet with the exception of a couple notable songs. One of them being Time Is on My Side by the Rolling Stones. And trust me, when you watch this movie and you hear that song and how it's used throughout, you'll definitely never listen to that song the same way again.
Time is on my side. Yes, it is.
And because the conclusion of this movie is, in my opinion, really iconic, it definitely benefits from multiple watches. For when you finish the movie and you go back to watch it again, you pick up way more things that you feel like you should have caught the first time, and it makes the movie even better for it. So if you're looking for a nice supernatural turn from Denzel, who typically doesn't even step his foot in this genre to begin with, this is definitely the movie that you should go with.
I'm just a cop, okay? I'm a detective. My work is based upon evidence, facts.
Mine too. And aren't your facts here rather resistant to normal interpretation?
Next on this Denzel double feature is the 1999 movie The Bone Collector. Now I know what you're thinking. He did Fallen in 1998 and The Bone Collector in 1999. He was really feeling like the little weird, subversive, you know, dipping his toe into thrillers and stuff around that time. And you know what? He should do more of that because The Bone Collector is just as crazy as what happened in Fallen, except It's not supernatural. It is completely and utterly grounded in realism. Now, The Bone Collector follows Denzel Washington, obviously. Once again, that's what the movie is about. It's about him. It follows Denzel playing cop Lincoln Rhyme, who, due to an unfortunate accident, is left as a quadriplegic, and now spends what he assumes to be his final days in bed, essentially giving up on life. However, when a body is discovered by beat cop Amelia Donahue, played by a young Angelina Jolie, the pair team up to stop a serial killer who is set loose on the streets of New York. Now, this movie, to me, once again, has one of the most iconic opening scenes ever. If you are from New York City or live in New York City or have even been to New York City and you know New York City has these very iconic yellow cabs, it will make you question getting into a yellow cab forever, for the rest of your life. I know it did for me. I was grown when I finally decided to get into a yellow cab, and it was after the trauma caused by watching this movie as a child. So, thanks for that. But this movie, similar to Fallen, is grounded in a detective movie. So like the characters trying to figure out what this serial killer is doing and the clues that they are leaving for the cops, you are also trying to figure out the same thing. Also similar to Fallen, perhaps because they came out within a year of one another, this movie also boasts an incredible cast of characters that help support the insanity that is going on in this film. Outside of the aforementioned Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie, this movie also boasts Queen Latifah, Michael Rooker, Luis Guzman, and Ed O'Neill. Now, because this movie is grounded in slightly more realism than Fallen, it is a little bit more graphic with what's going on. There is a serial killer on the loose, and the schmurders are very graphic and iconic. People are dying, y'all, and it is not pretty. So if you don't want to see people get schmurdered in a ridiculous fashion, this might not be the movie for you. However, I would say that this movie is a good gateway movie to another classic horror serial killer movie, for if you've heard of a little movie called Seven, which is graphic as hell and also an incredible movie. Seven came out 4 years prior to The Bone Collector, and honestly, the similarities cannot be overlooked. However, Seven is way more graphic. So if you've never seen that movie and you want to ease yourself into it, you can watch The Bone Collector first. That'll ease you right into watching Seven. And then nothing will ease you out of it because they're both graphic as hell, but very, very good movies. So I also advise giving that a watch as well.
There are 2,000 notebooks on these shelves, and each notebook contains about 250 pages.
Get it? Anything about the killings?
Also, from a filmmaking standpoint, this movie has some really interesting shots. Now, typically in a movie when characters are talking to one another, you'll have over-the-shoulder shots as they're going back and forth in conversation. However, The Bone Collector has point-of-view shots, not only from its central character that Denzel Washington is playing, but other characters across the movie. This is interesting because you are getting a feel and seeing the field of vision that this character is feeling. Because of that, when things happen, you're also feeling the same emotional beats that they're feeling as well. What's behind a certain corner, how a person looks to that character as they're talking to them, and how they feel that person is responding. Also, because Denzel Washington's character is a quadriplegic and spends the majority of the movie in bed, it's very intriguing to see his field of view from his position. How people interact with him and look at him, and the decisions that he makes over the course of the movie are because of those things. Because his field of view is so limited, it takes you into the eyes of the character to make you feel how he feels, how people are looking at him, and how they see him or view him as this person in this very limited position. Also, as the movie goes along and they continue the search for this serial killer, there are more and more point of view shots as certain characters start to feel more suspicious about other characters. And you see that the way that some characters looked at each other at the beginning of the movie may not be how they continue to look at each other as the film goes along, which in and of itself is very interesting. It's also very uncommon for point of view shots to be used in horror movies, which I feel like is something that should kind of be used more, but that's just me. The Bone Collector does an incredible job using its setting, as it is filmed on location in New York City to its advantage. It gets all the grittiness, all of the chaoticness, and all of the horror that could be found within the streets of New York as a serial killer is on a rampage. It is a suspense thriller at its core, as it builds the tone and sets the pace as you go throughout the movie, trying to figure out what's going on, just like the characters. So if you're looking for a detective movie with an ensemble cast, some fairly graphic schmurders, but some A-list acting from Denzel Washington, who was literally in a bed the entire time and still captivating as hell, this is definitely the movie for you.
If we don't figure out the clues in time, the blood's on our hands. And if we don't find the victim in time, we're as responsible for the murders as he is.
Anywho, thank you so much for joining me for this double feature of Fallen and The Bone Collector. What's your favorite double feature? Do you have any movies that you like to pair together and watch back to back? If you do, let me know about it in the comment section below. If you've liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, more double features, movie, TV, reactions, and reviews. And for The Struggle is Real, I have been April, and I'll see you real soon. Peace!